You know that feeling, right? That sudden hot wave of self-consciousness when you do something clumsy, or maybe you're just having a bad hair day and you just know everyone is staring. It's a totally universal and, let's be honest, pretty uncomfortable feeling. But what is actually going on in our heads when that feeling takes over? Well, that's what we're going to dive into.
It's that exact moment, you know? You walk into a quiet room, or you stand up to give a presentation, and it just feels like this giant Hollywood-style spotlight has switched on, and it is pointed directly at you.
I mean, think about it. You stumble on the sidewalk, and for a split second, it feels like the entire world just stops and watches. Your brain starts replaying it in slow motion, and you're absolutely convinced you're going to be the main topic of conversation for miles around. But what if I told you that feeling is almost entirely in your head?
Yeah, that phenomenon, that intense feeling of being watched, actually has a name in social psychology. So no, it's not just you being paranoid, it's a really well-documented cognitive bias that pretty much all of us have.
To put it simply, our brains have this kind of default setting that dramatically overestimates how much attention other people are paying to our appearance, to our actions, to everything. We think the spotlight on us is huge and blindingly bright, when in reality, it's probably a tiny flicker, if it's even on at all. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly explains the core reason for the effect. See, we are the main character in our own movie 24/7. Everything we see is from our own perspective. So it's incredibly hard to accurately guess how much we're showing up on other people's radar, because they're busy being the main characters in their own movies.
And to see just how powerful this internal feeling can be, we've got to look at this fascinating and really clever experiment from back in 1980. This one puts the spotlight effect to the ultimate test.
Okay, so picture this setup. Volunteers come in, and a makeup artist gives them a very realistic, very noticeable facial scar. They look in the mirror, they see it, they totally internalize it. Then the makeup artist says they're just applying a moisturizing cream, but what they're secretly doing is completely removing the scar. So these volunteers go into a conversation with a stranger, absolutely believing this scar is the first thing their partner is going to see. And here is the absolute genius of the study. All of their internal anxiety, all that self-consciousness, them bracing for judgment, it's all based on a physical flaw that isn't even there anymore. So after the conversation, what did they say? They reported that their conversation partners were tense, they were patronizing, they were distant, they were certain it was because of the scar. But it couldn't have been, right? The perception of being judged was generated completely from inside their own heads, fueled by their own belief that they were under a negative spotlight. So why are our brains wired this way? I mean, it's not just some random glitch. There are a couple of core psychological mechanics at play that create this powerful illusion. Let's break down how this actually works. Okay, first up, there's a bias called anchoring. Our own intense feeling, that embarrassment, that awkwardness, that's the anchor. It's so strong for us that we use it as the starting point for guessing how others see us. But here's the problem. We don't adjust our guess nearly enough to account for the simple fact that they don't have access to our internal monologue. And that flawed anchor gets made even worse by something called the illusion of transparency. This is the part where we feel like our emotions are just leaking out of us, that our anxiety or our shame must be written all over our faces. We think we're a total open book, but in reality, other people are usually pretty bad at reading our internal states. Now, what's really cool is seeing how these psychological concepts show up in our everyday lives. Because this isn't just about phantom scars. Researchers have tested this in all sorts of really common, relatable situations. So studies consistently find that we are way, way off. In one famous experiment, students had to wear an embarrassing t-shirt and then guess how many people noticed it. They estimated about 50%, half the room. The actual number? Closer to 20%. We also massively overestimate how much weight our comments carry in a meeting and how harshly people are judging our fumbled presentation or that missed goal in a game. And listen, this isn't just some folk wisdom. Researchers like Thomas Gilovich, who actually came up with the name spotlight effect, have built this huge body of work proving just how much our own perspective can warp our social reality. So this all leads to a really powerful and frankly liberating conclusion. Understanding this cognitive bias is way more than just a fun psychological fact. It's actually a tool you can use. And this right here is the crucial takeaway. People are busy. They're wrapped up in their own worries, their own to-do lists, and their own internal spotlight effects. That mistake you made, that outfit you regret wearing, it was most likely just a fleeting blip on their radar, if it even registered at all. The next time you feel that hot flush of self-consciousness, you can actually take a breath and remind yourself, okay, this is the spotlight effect. Just knowing that your brain is hardwired to overestimate the attention you're getting can help dial down the anxiety and give you the freedom to just be. So the final question is really for you. Now that you know this, will you be more willing to ask that silly question in a meeting? Will you wear that bold outfit you love? Or maybe just walk down the street with a little less worry? Understanding the illusion can be the very first step to stepping out from under a spotlight that was never really there to begin with.